Hello, everybody. Welcome back to A Plants Could Talk. This is Garrett. I'm your host. This conversation took place on June 12th, 2022, with my very special guest and friend that I am very happy to introduce you guys to, Strong Winds Array, also known as Vincent. Vincent is from Long Beach, California. He's a Long Beach native and a dear friend of mine, like I mentioned before, and medicine man, healer, and I would argue shaman. However, he does not choose to identify that way because he's very humble. I've had incredible experiences with Vincent sharing medicine and plants together and truly enjoyed getting to bond and connect with him in a very special way today. I'm very happy to bring you guys this episode. We discussed all types of stuff, the community, supporting one another, reciprocation of love and promotion within the community. We talked about plant medicine, the men's groups that Vincent does, usually on full moons. He does these full moon gatherings. We also discussed DMT, psilocybin, peyote, and growing cactus at length. We shared some plants with one another visually. So if you're listening, you may want to head over and check out the video options of this episode. And lastly, we discussed ancestry, particularly our ancestors and what that means to us, and covered some of the dinners that Vincent and his partner offer. They do these decolonization dinner gatherings of all plant-based meals. I highly recommend you head over to his Instagram page. I will plug a link in the description of this episode so you can head straight over, shoot him a follow, give him some love. And before we get started, if you scroll down into the description of this episode, you will find links to Mezcala Nursery located in Long Beach, California, Green Touch Nursery located in Bellflower, California, and a link to Real Mushrooms if you're interested in supplementing mushrooms. I recently received my first payout from somebody supporting my mushroom campaign link, so thank you. I do know that Prickly Plant Nursery has been one of the people to support my link, but I think there's been a couple others, so thank you so much to those of you who have supported this podcast in that way. It's a great way to support, especially if you're interested in the health benefits of supplementing mushrooms. That's actually something we talked about too in this episode, was mushrooms and like medicinal mushrooms, all types of medicines. And big shout out to plantly.io. I'm rocking their hat today. I got the stickers behind me. Head over to your web browser, type in plantly.io, or go into the App Store on Android or iOS and download the free Plantly app. If you're interested in becoming a vendor, I have provided the link to do that as well. And in conclusion, I am still hosting a fundraiser. It will be going through the 24th. That gives us 12 days from today to reach our goal of $1,500. Thank you everyone that has donated, especially as of recent, those of you who have jumped on and helped out. Thank you. There was a $123 donation today, $100 yesterday, $25. Thank you. Every bit counts. I really love what nopalito.arte said. They said that if you can buy a cup of coffee, you can support this podcast, and that's awesome. Totally agree. If you can just contribute $5, $10, if everyone that listened to the podcast again yesterday contributed $10, we would go far beyond our goals. If you can, please do. I'm very grateful for everyone who has. And another great way to support this podcast is to like, review, and subscribe, and hit that share button. So if you would be so kind as to do any of those things, all support is welcome and appreciated. Thank you. Here's Vincent. Strong Winds Array.
Hey yo, hey
Vincent,
yo, how
welcome
you
to the
doing,
show,
man?
Vinny.
Hey, thank you very much for having me, brother.
Absolutely. Thank you for the Hape session.
Of course, yeah, it was needed. I always appreciate being able to connect and ground out with brothers, or just even like-minded individuals in the medicine journey.
Also, thank you for introducing it to me. I had heard and read of it, but never firsthand. And eventually we can explore uh, that instance when that
I'm
happened.
definitely
But I
down.
want to hear your background. Where are you from? Where are you native to? What's your family? Who are you?
All right, okay. So who am I? Hey there, community. A lot of you have met me so far, but it's nice to be able to put my story out there and thank you very much, Gare, for having the platform, for all of us to do that. Um, so I'm a California, Long Beach native. I was born and raised, born in Memorial Hospital and
Mm.
brought back to Fifth and Cherry. If any
Mm.
of y'all know the area, back then it was called the gay ghetto,
Mm-hmm.
and it was not the nicest neighborhood, but it was beautiful. I was brought home to two mothers, and that was back in 1999 when it was completely, unheard of.
Mm.
That was back in the day when two mothers or two men can't be on the same birth certificate, like, so my mom, one of my mothers, was erased from the father spot. It was back then when it was still weird. And
Mm.
but anyways, that was kind of like my startup. And my one of my birth mother comes from an adopted family, so I didn't really know my roots at all. And throughout my time and just growing up, it was kind of hard to figure out who I was, because I was melanin, but I was in a field of just, a lot of Caucasian
Mm-hmm.
individuals that didn't really they didn't really understand. We didn't understand each other, but we were still cool. So I was like, all right, cool. But, as I grew up, I started to reconnect with my roots. And basically my moms, they both touched on spirituality and touching on how to connect with thyself, but they lost it when they had me. They just had to,
Mm.
suck it up and just get shit done and make me to who I am today. And thank you guys, appreciate you guys. But nowadays they gave me that gift where it's I'm able to journey and have the full support of them to be able to now do the cactus fully, jump into medicine fields. And whoever's down for the journey, I'm like their friend basically. I'm like, hey, I'm down to share some info. But I never knew who I was. Like I didn't know what this blood was for a while. I knew I was part Mexican, and that was where my mom's bloodline comes from, deep Michoacan, Pueblo life.
Mm-hmm.
But I never knew who my dad was from. But recently, weirdly enough, in this culture with the DNA stuff and like 23andMe and
Mm-hmm.
Ancestry, I found out who my dad was. And dude, I'm 65% French and German. Like I had no
Wow.
idea. Like it's a trip. And now that I know who my pops is and stuff, it's just life is just it's flowing now that I'm open to just learn, just flowing with heart. It don't matter what's up, just I'm gonna make decisions with the heart and such. And it's been a beautiful one. Like gracias Hape for allowing the just for me to be grounded and to be able to understand energy, not the energy, but understand the information that's coming through. Because
Mm.
it was I was not as able to. I was very kind of an angry, a misunderstood child growing up through the teenage years and such. So now being able to just transfer love into these plantitas, it's such a beautiful experience, and yeah, that's a little summary of who I am.
Well, I was just gonna ask you if any of what you had just explained uh prior was pain, and it sounds like it was,
Very
and
much so.
has evolved into beauty
Hmm.
and love and happiness and medicine, joy and
Very much so. Very much
connection.
so.
And I see that, and I felt like an instant connection to you. The first time we ever hung out, you made me and my son feel welcome. And I actually have a photo, a little portrait of us three together that I was gonna add into this episode.
Right
And
on.
you sent me home with like two 6 foot tall Mexican fence posts and like a bunch of tricos and stuff, and um, introduced me to a Peruvianis I have present here
Hey,
that we shall not disclose, but we'll say it's a Long Beach Peruvianis
Long Beach,
and
Peru native, beautiful,
relatively
beautiful
left
plant.
untouched. And
Yeah.
thank you for sharing everything that you have with me, and for doing all the work that you did over those years and overcoming the adversity and the pain of living in the gay ghetto. I spent quite a few years living over there too, right next to you, Fifth and Cerritos, just a couple blocks
Hey.
down. And I know I can't know for sure, but I can at least somewhat. I have a somewhat of a grasp of what it may have been like during those times, especially as a person of color that is doesn't have a strong understanding of their cultural or racial identity.
Mm-hmm. yeah, yeah, we're basically American for that
Right.
aspect, just part of the melting pot, and
Mm.
a lot of this story has been, it's never ending kind of thing. Like a lot, it's been this is an old story for a lot of us, just figuring out who we are and such. And it's
Mm.
a beautiful one, because nowadays, with how connected we are, let's say just even through the computers and through the phones and social media and such, like even emails is a big connection too, because you could be able to, talk with people and pen pals for just, it's beautiful, so many different aspects and niches that this helps, build connections with.
Yeah, the era of the internet, like we were talking about, or I think you just mentioned it once. We were already live. The 23andMe, that actually that explained a lot to me too, because on one side of my family we had no idea, and it turned out we were something completely different than what we thought. So, yeah, there's pitfalls to our modern times for sure
Right.
with the phones, and it can kind of throw you out of harmony if not done in balance, and it's something I
Hmm.
struggle with for sure. This electronic era, but beautiful nonetheless. And something like this wasn't possible until recently. What we're doing right now.
Honest. Yeah,
Yeah,
this in 2015 was like, what? Well,
yeah,
you could talk. FaceTime was a big, but now this is like, oh, cool.
yeah. Right.
Yeah, man, this is awesome. It's beautiful.
So plants.
Oh yeah, let's get into the nitty gritty.
Where did they come from? Where
Okay,
how did you find them?
so medicine journey actually brought me back to them. As a child, I was like very interested in like rocks and just dirt. You would find me in the dirt and collecting rocks and like even plants at a certain time, but I didn't know how to plant, so I was just playing around. But like as a kid, that's what I was. So I lost that as went through school and ending high school, and like my friends got into succulents like when it was really popular in, like, let's say 2014, 2016 area, between that time. And I was like, okay, cool. I don't really understand it, but like, right on, plants are cool. I always appreciated it. But as I grew up and I recreationally used psychedelics to help me develop a more grounded aspect, to help just love myself, just to choose that. and
Mm.
and I that's what helped me really dive in and release a lot of the pain that I was attached to and moved on. But when the plants really came in, there was a deep session about 2018, 2019 era. And I was, just I'm still a baby, but like we all are babies at a certain age. But like, I was still very young mindset. And I was like, okay, what is this going to show me? I'm completely open. I'm willing to just understand and listen. Like I don't no expectations, and I'm just going to love myself. And I showed it with the intention, just love. And in that, close my eyes, and the Tricos columnar cacti, little globulars, just tons of different ones, but specifically cacti,
Mm-hmm.
and came through, and they just started growing. And if you've ever seen the time lapse, shout out Cacti Time Lapse on Instagram, for doing that cool work. Anyways, like you can see how geometrically these plants grow. There's like one rib here, one rib aside, and they don't grow evenly. So that was just so vivid in the session behind my closed eyes. And the message was saying, follow the plants, follow the plants. So I wake up after this, and like, I'm okay, I'm digesting, and I'm like, say less, like, follow the plants. So since then, dude, it's been beautiful. Like I can't express enough how much I've found my calling. I should say, just sitting down and just being like, hey, let me just play with these plants for a little while, and but there with it, I understand the medicine in it at all, even the pothos back there, keeping your lungs clean and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not just, like the way that our ancestors did it too. We cultivated everything, because everything had a little energy, whether it was food, whether it was medicine, whether it was herbs, whether whatever it would be, it was even textiles to help us write down our old codexes, to like the stuff that's still in the Vatican that is hidden from us, that
Mm-hmm.
information that was used through plants. So it's so interconnected with what we're doing here, and that's the way that I found them, and I like since then, since 2018, deep. I quit my 9 to 5, and I went just deep in for 2 years. And that was through, 2019, 2020, 2021, in the middle of the heat of it, and I'm like, whoa, I'm feeling it. I'm entrepreneuring with the love of the plants. And I kind of went, I kind of needed to take it a break because I wasn't as business conscious. I didn't know how to keep it flowing. So I was like, oh, I'm deficient now. So I need to like basically create funds to, basically fund the passion, multiple streams, creating multiple streams.
Mm-hmm.
So I went back into the work field over the last year and a half year. And now being able to double timing it, I feel the most productive and the most constructive as ever, seeing the vision through and connecting with like-minded individuals like you and many others throughout the community. It's just it's passionate, it's beautiful for me.
Seeing the animation in your body language, and seeing how truly passionate and how much love you have for this, uh, it's apparent that this is your calling, and I do believe that it's part of mine as well. And it's funny, I'll relate to you for one moment. I had a vision of infinite cacti in the center of the universe, just fractals of cacti during a medicine session once. And that's when I, like, that moment, it was about 2 years ago now, really was one of the many moments that continued to solidify that foundation. Plants, plants,
Yes.
plants, plants saved my life,
Yes.
plants are my life and we are theirs. And I just think it's such a beautiful thing to recognize that there's so much more than just a hobby or something, a decoration in the
Mm-hmm.
house. And
Mm-hmm.
you're now working, even in your regular 9 to 5, it has
Oh
something to
yeah.
do with plants too, right?
Oh yeah, like what's it called? So luckily through that, finding that's really cool. I've totally forgot about that actually. I was just staying centered. I was Asian trained chef, beforehand, and I
Mm.
worked in a couple different Japanese and Korean restaurants, but
Mm.
they it wasn't for me, like chopping meat and serving bowls of noodles wasn't for me that much. Though it was fun, it was very cool to know what I could do and still, bust out some good ramen and some good udon, it wasn't for me. So after that, I jumped into now this the second time I jumped into the workforce. It was, what plants can I, what botanical gardens, what anywhere, like it was that type of stuff. I'm like, for sure, what am I going to go do? So I looked it up, and thank God on these apps, thank God technology
Mm-hmm.
linking this with it. I found a job where if anybody knows Altman's plants, I'm on the
Mm-hmm.
sales side of it. So basically I'm the one who's taking care of a couple of different big box stores and making sure the plants and write orders and stuff like that. And with finding that and now able to utilize matrix, funds and energy exchange for my time into funds to now put this into the cactus to jump it all around and all that growth within it, it's been a beautiful learning process.
So outside of the traditional workforce, what kind of services are you offering and what kind of
Hmm.
work do you do?
Okay, so as of now, I love to work one on one specifically. The more intimate, the better, because I feel like when others are around, like let's say if we're grouping, coming together with others you don't know, sometimes it'd be kind of hard. You just sit in your comfortable zone, But the whole point of my practice and what I do is sharing the medicine is to break those patterns of thought, because it's only our limitations that is holding us there when we sit in comfortability. It's kind of just staying stagnant. So with it, I love to do one-on-one, medicine sessions where I serve and guide through Hape. I'm also, your friend when it comes down to sharing information about different cacti and specifically Tricos and Lufafora varieties. Those are my most passionate.
Mm.
But anything that basically grows in the Tamaulipan thorn scrum, like
Mm-hmm.
like ecosystem, basically, southern Texas all the way down through like Nuevo Leon, San Luis Potosí, Michoacan, and on, because there's different little blotches of Lufafora, whether it's Freesii, Diffusia, Koreshi, like a lot of different stuff. I'm very into sharing and spreading the knowledge, as because that's where I come from. Like, and I want to spread the knowledge and love of what these plants can be for us, especially too, in the cultivation process, because that's the best part in is being able to just see one of these beauties flower, like, yeah. But yeah, on the hape aspect, I we do, luckily that's where I'm going to segue into. Uh a little while back, my you and me, Garrett, sat down together in a men's circle, and that was one of the ones where it's best, where we just bring in, and where all of us as men can just share uh our perspective and how we work in the world, where the machismo just stops at the door, and
Mm.
it's where we're here to cry with each other, where we're here to just be like, yo, this is how I, messed up this, and just bounce off like-minded, masculine, experiences in this world and stuff. And men don't have that support group as much. There are
Mm-hmm.
some, subgroups that do that, but it more men need to be coming together and doing this specifically. Our hermanas and our beautiful, wives and mothers and partners, how, they're usually very groupful. They come together very easily, but men, it's harder for us to come
Mm-hmm.
together as a group and sit down, at least in this Western culture. It's
Yeah.
it's easier in natives, but in this Western culture, it's trying to bring that back down and basically decolonize that mindset, break out of this system of just like, we're gonna conform, or we're gonna like come together and like try to grow, like.
Yeah, absolutely. And growth is exactly what I experienced the night that I joined you guys. And thank you for the invitation. I believe it was a full moon, right? Full
Yeah,
moon. It was a
usually we
full
we,
moon.
do, we would do it on a full moon, because that's when there's the most amount of energy portals coming out, and it's a very energetic night. Whether it's a full moon or a new moon, there's different. I'm not too lingual in astrology, but
Mm-hmm.
I do know the phases, in especially when medicine is most, how would I say, beneficial, is when new moon or full moon is around, because that's when the heightened energy is running through, and it's it's where we get to connect easier to our the where we come from, that energy source creator, I like to say, and
Mm.
that's where I feel like it's easiest to definitely tap into that.
Yeah, and it's like the end of one lunar cycle and the beginning of another.
Right.
Yeah.
Our people used to do it off of seasons and moons and suns before it was
Yeah.
September 12th, like that type of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
like, eh, like, what's it called? Gregorian calendar is
Right.
only, let's say, 200 years old, and human history is hundreds of thousands of years old at this point,
Yeah.
like like that stone date theory, like all of us coming
Mm-hmm.
together. And what are you going to do when you find mushrooms, growing together in a patch, and you guys are all hungry? You guys are going to munch them together, and you guys are going to grow. That's how languages were built. I believe in a small sense, from other ethnobotanists that have shared that, where medicines, they create different synapses in our brain, where the other 90% of the brain, where we don't really know what it functions for,
Mm-hmm.
all that is, just hyperdrive. It's on, it's working, and it's helped me. Nonetheless, I feel like it's helped you and helped others that I've connected with in this beautiful community that we all share. It's absolutely amazing. I can't say that enough,
I'm with you on the stoned ape theory because my understanding of it is that there's a period, a very short period of time. I want to say it was about a million years. It could have been 100,000, something like that. A large number of years where suddenly the human brain doubled in size
Yeah,
and language
drastic.
appears,
Yeah.
and there's no explanation for it. So there's a theory called the stoned ape theory that hunter gatherers stumbled upon psilocybin mushrooms, and based on what I know about psilocybin, it does make sense. I'm not going to pretend to know if that's really what happened, but
Right.
uh, what I do know about psilocybin is that it activates parts of the brain that normally aren't active, and we have receptors that react to its presence in our bloodstream, and it's creating new neural pathways. It can
Yeah.
heal depression and suicidality, and help people come to grips with the fact that they are terminally ill and going to die,
Yeah.
and are feel ready and at peace with death,
Right.
and are
And
seeing
yeah,
God,
yeah, pretty much
visions.
the cancer patients being
Mm-hmm.
being given psilocybin treatments and
Mm-hmm.
such like that. I've actually Ooh, this with on that note, I'm down to get a little deep with this. So my grandmother, she's Alzheimer's. She's
Mm.
pretty deep dementia and stuff. And through finding eating and stuff, I realized that it's a heavy metal toxicity that will cause that over immense
Mm-hmm.
amount of times. And they were the era that grew that it was cool to eat out of a can, like that type of stuff. Over 50 years, 30 years, that'll catch up to you. And pobrecita did. So with it, I've given her my Banisterius cappy, vine, the a tincture that I make out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've also been able to give her little bits of psilocybin mushroom, and it's it's literally sparking little memories in her that I'm like, oh grandma, are you like, in my mind I'm like, are you back? Like,
Yeah.
are you back? Are you in another loop, or what are you at? And it's that there's somewhat of a sense of tapping back into oneself. and
Mm-hmm.
and I've seen it firsthand, and
Mm-hmm.
that right there I'm like, whoa, okay, we're working with something very, very precious here, kind of thing,
Yeah.
you know.
There's something there, and then chemically, structure wise, it's very similar to dimethyltryptamine,
Yeah.
and we all, we can go into ayahuasca as well, but there's something there, and the peyote, there's a divine connection there
Mm-hmm.
between these, and it not necessarily doesn't grow in every region of the area, but you'll find
Right.
something like it. You'll find psilocybin in one area, peyote in another, San
Yes.
Pedro in another.
Mm-hmm.
The Amanita
Mm-hmm.
muscaria has ties to religion. All those
Right.
things,
and 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 like mushrooms are one of the biggest things that are connected to native and indigenous cultures throughout the world,
Mm,
whether it's northern to southern Europe, whether it's all the way to the corners of Russia, whether it's all the way into the to Alaska and down through South America and even through Africa. there's so many different like there's so many different plants that help us tap into through the divine. And
hmm.
most definitely I can agree with that statement for sure.
Yeah, you have the mother ayahuasca, and then you had the Saint Peter for San
Mm-hmm.
Pedro, right? And you have all these. There's so many thousands of accounts of people that use the same substance, for lack of a better term, the same medicine, that have visions that are very alike and
Yeah.
aligned. And I'd
Yeah.
like to talk about a vision I shared with you,
Mm.
since we were just talking about your men's gathering. The way I recall it, I'll summarize, is we started with some, well, one, I felt welcome from the moment I
Mhm.
arrived. I felt welcomed and loved and appreciated and heard and seen, all at a time where I wasn't feeling that in my life at all,
Mm.
and had just came out of a very dark place.
Yeah.
And Benji, your friend Benji, he follows this page, I follow him. uh, he led us in a breathwork exercise,
Yeah.
and we
I
started with
remember
some
that.
breath work, and I immediately started sobbing at like the peak of the breath work. Just
Mhm.
broke down, huge release.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is
Breakthroughs.
gonna be it. This is gonna be one of those nights, you
Mhm.
know? And
Yeah.
then you served me and everyone else present, my first Hape session. And I'm not even gonna try to describe that, but that transition from the breath work into the Hape medicine, and in closing and sharing too. We, after each section of this practice that we did together, we would all share, and we had a talking stick, and it was just beautiful. It was unlike any gathering I've ever been to. Very therapeutic, but not in the therapy sense, more in like the spiritual sense, and the connection I felt like with, like I was with family. and
Yeah.
and
Always
lastly,
will be.
you jumped in with me into the world of dimethyltryptamine, and one of the strangest experiences for me, because I immediately, after hitting the medicine, was thrown into this body movement that I've
Yeah.
never done in any other medicine session. For those that are listening, I was kind of just swirling my body round and round with my eyes closed, and I was a little nervous to go in, but Vincent told me, it's okay, Garrett. I'm going to go with you. I'm going to guide you through it. We're going to go together. And we did. And during this movement, I just felt this bliss and overwhelming feeling of like ecstasy and connection to the divine, and shared a vision afterwards coming out of it, and a feeling that you had as well. And it was that somebody from behind, I'm not even going to try to explain visually, but what I felt was a hug, a being from behind wrapping their arms around me and holding
Yep.
me tight.
Yep.
And you
Yep.
reported the same thing.
That's Mama Ayahuasca. That's the mama spirit. That's the one where it's like, mijo, just, hey, you're home
I'm
kind of thing.
here.
Yeah, I'm here, right? Like that's mama. That could be creator in a sense too, because yeah, definitely there could be many different words, but yeah, definitely.
Yeah, thank
That's
you for
beautiful.
sharing that experience with me, and I really look forward to future ones. And I left feeling a lot better, and for many days, and left with this tool and
Yes.
this little container here with 3 different types of medicine. Do you mind explaining the types of medicines that you do use in
Yeah,
these, and
of
what
course.
kinds you offer?
So the ones basically the tools that he just showed you is this one pretty much. This is called the kuripe. With hape and utilizing the medicine, this would be your self-serving tool where this goes into your mouth, this goes into your nose, and through your meditation and basically over your heart, over your third eye, and over your crown, giving you a little bit of intentions, you go ahead and blow the medicine into your sinuses and you just take your deep breaths. And this is what this tool would be, the wood piece that he was sharing. It's called the kuripe. And the blends that I work with, I work with 5 different types right now. I am I have a very beautiful connection with a medicine maker slash worker over there in I forget what part of Brazil, but they're part of the Catuaquina tribe. Very, very close, and they're bordering tribes of the Yawanawa region. So in that part of the Amazon basin, I believe they have 5 to 10 main herbs, but their strongest ones are cacao, kumaru, canela de vejo, mulanterio, and jurema. Those are the five main blends that they work with that are, I would say, the deeper of the energy connection, because there's some that are lighter for different times of day, and but the ones that I like to work with are more for breaking us out of this section that needs a little bit more umph for that reason. And pretty much Kumaru is using all of them are using barks, roots, leaves that have been brought down to a very, very, very fine powder, like I would say to the finest powder of blush or
Mm-hmm.
something of that makeup, like rice,
Like
like
dust.
dust. Yeah,
Right.
dust. It's the finest dust that you could possibly use. And essentially what it does, it's a grounding tool that you use is when you sacrifice that breath, and you go ahead and set your intentions forth and you just tap into the breath. That's exactly what this medicine goes ahead, and it's a manifestation tool. As well as when you're inside of medicine realm, this is one of your best friends, because sometimes medicine realm can get kind of deep. It can get kind of rough sometimes. It can kind of like overthinking stuff. I like to call that chatterbox brain, where we're just running sometimes. And this right here in medicine session, working with it simultaneously to help just to tap into that breath real quick and just go just long deep breaths for about 3-4 minutes. It reminds you, oh, okay, I'm back here. Let me digest, let me integrate. It's a great integration tool as well. That's the main reason why I found into this medicine. And even thank you to the people who connected me to this medicine, because on the journey, one I wanted to note is, when working with other energy workers or medicine workers, do your due diligence and trust your guts, because
Mm.
your gut is going to be one of your best things. And there are a lot of sheeps in wolf's clothing that I myself have even experienced before
Mm-hmm.
inside of medicine sessions where you're breaking down and you really got to trust. And it almost at a certain point in one of my darkest parts, I've almost wanted to just take a break for a while and just not do medicines for a while. But then I came back and I was like, no, let me not be negative and let me dive in deep in what I remembered again. And it was kind of like the ebb and flow, you know, basically just trust your gut with that, with especially with other people. And your gut doesn't lie. And love too, if you don't feel the love or the connection with that individual who's sharing the medicine space with you, that's another one too, because it's all about love. If it's heart work. Most of
Yeah.
this energy is healing the heart,
Mm-hmm.
and with their strong hearts too, helping people break that. And that's the one where you also too, you know, try to get to know those individuals, try to really get to like talk with them, ask questions, because that's the ones where you building relationships. I think it's really why it helped you and I go in deep, Garrett, because when we already knew each other, I
Mm-hmm.
shared love. And I was like, I invited you that day, I was like, let's do medicine session one day. And over time it's kind of like planting seeds, you know, just work with those people. And there's no rush for this. And life is a marathon, not a race. So, you know, the information will always be there. You just kind of got to just wait for your energy to resonate back, you know?
Well, no, thank you for educating us and the listeners on that, because it's important that it not feel transactional. And
Yes,
there's
yes.
people out there, something we've explored a little bit on the podcast, that are taking advantage of the mentally ill or the suffering,
Mm,
and with the wrong intentions, even in some
mhm.
of these native areas too.
Right.
Down south, you can get in with the wrong medicine men, you know, working with maybe darker energies.
That's a fact.
Yeah,
That's a fact.
and there's a lot of horror stories out there. So if you can put forth some harm reduction, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That and it shouldn't be a like a what's it called? The world is moving fast. It's we're living in not only the internet realm, which is a world culture, because we're all kind of on the same belt, whether you're from Mexico, America, you know, all over, you know. But it's also too, now that we're working, we got this platform where we could do hand in hand medicine. Many medicine people are they contact and they actually ask you questions about yourself and try to understand what's even, because it's yeah, just what's even to come,
Mm-hmm.
because they're as being part of the energy part, you're part into it a little bit. You kind of already have a sort of a feeling of what's going to be coming, and you start preparing and you get your tools ready and stuff like that. So it's giving the respect to the ceremony in itself at the deepest core level by doing that for yourself, you know. And it's showing up for yourself and showing up for the ceremony simultaneously, in that sense, you know.
Creating space and time for yourself. Yeah.
Creating space, that's a perfect and eloquently said. It's creating space, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Hmm.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing on that.
Of course, brother.
So we were talking about diving into reciprocation of love and
Hmm.
promotion and value in the community,
Yeah.
as many of us are offering different types of services. And you had touched on a farmer reference that you wanted to dive into. Do you mind exploring that?
Oh yeah, of course. uh, the farmer reference that I like to be is like, let's say I grow corn, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a whole bunch of other corn growers around me. I have the best corn, the strongest corn, the tastiest corn.
Mm-hmm.
Another corn is inferior. Let's say I have seeds and I have it doesn't even have to be an influx of seeds. I just have to make sure that I'm taken care of, and whatever extra seeds is out there, I spread. And over time, my good seed will make sure that all the other inferior seed doesn't live it out. And we all, if I'm giving you seed, basically, however many plants I've given out there in the world, it's just we all need to be the best growers at the same time. There's no gatekeeping here. There's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I have a good plant. I'm not gonna, let's say, put it at a premium price because I want that the only person that can really afford it to do that. When in actuality, more people than not, that are more working class, or even not even as money fluctual as you
Mm-hmm.
are, would love and appreciate and intentionally put forth to that plant, then that other person, they were just like, oh, it's a $200 plant, but in actuality it's probably just 75 bucks would be a good, exchange for the common man. Like,
Mm.
it's a big one where, that too, with it, like, it could be said, with being a good farmer and stuff, it shouldn't make anybody else feel like they're inferior, say they're not at the same level as others.
Uh-huh.
And it's a big one where, if someone's lower than you, usually I find more lower numbered accounts or smaller, just personal accounts,
Mm-hmm.
posting up more people, more of that, than I see other individuals who are up there in the same classification, same realm as us,
Yes.
spreading love with each other. I see more just common folk spreading that love than it is within each other in our own community. That
Mm-hmm.
was a big one where I was like, okay, cool, I will repost, I will love anything that I support with my heart, because I want I want everybody to be at that same level, so to speak, kind of thing. And it's a
And it
big one,
shouldn't
man.
always have to be requested either.
No, it shouldn't.
Those of us, we know who our people are, right?
Right,
We have
right.
it. We are developing an ongoing tribe, and it is not a closed off clique. We
No,
are a growing tribe
open,
of plant
very
people, and
open.
all are welcome. And that's something that I've been trying to stress from the beginning, is that all are welcome, not just here on this platform. Whether you have 200 followers or 100,000 followers, it means nothing to me. I have had people on this show that have an outrageous amount of followers, and their video or episode has far less plays than some of these smaller accounts. And so
Right.
it's not about that. And I think that people with a larger platform that joined Instagram when the algorithm was more friendly and went in chronological order, and you could get
Mm-hmm.
engagement of 20,000 overnight. Those are the type of accounts that should be helping to create the future for this community. That they
Right on
should
the
be the
nose,
ones that
right
are
there.
sharing it, sharing the love
Mm-hmm.
that was so freely given to them. We all
Right,
were inspired by somebody. No,
right.
none of us are pioneers in this field. You know what I mean? We
Yes,
all are just
110%.
all have our own lane, and sure, and we all do our own
Mm-hmm.
things. But at the end of the day, something I would like to see improve in this community is sharing,
Yeah,
and reasonable pricing, and selflessness.
very
We
much
are a
so at a certain level.
community.
Yeah, for real. That there's many plant communities outside of just the US, and even just, let's say, the California realm, where overseas and stuff, they're so tight knit. They just be given, like, over here that plant could be $2,000, but over there they're like, here's a gift for you,
Right.
and I'm like, it to me, that's why I give so much, is
Mm-hmm.
because to me, I could raise a plant as best as I could. It to me, I'd understand the energy exchange, but I would much rather create a connection with you, or anybody out there for that matter, whether you're new, you don't know, or you do know a lot about plants, or about even just the realm of what we're talking about. Because it's for me, I would much rather have a friend than I would have or friend, business account, or whatever it would be, however our relationship would play out, than just, let's say, a customer. I would, because, like, shit, I see you and I take in so much information, and how would I say, what is the word I'm looking for? Influence from the way you do some stuff, and the way you handle your plant
Likewise.
sales and stuff like
Likewise.
that. And it's like, okay, cool. It's creating, like, let's say, an even out market where there's no jacked up stuff, and there's others where we're all just keeping it, nobody stepping on each other either. And it's not
Yeah.
like it's not what the what is the word? It's not just the huh. It's what is the word? It's not just the corporate standpoint. It's not just the one where it's big business and stuff. It's like
Mm-hmm.
we're all together in the community. It's
Yes.
it's I'm
And
basing on
quality
the C word.
quality over quantity in the relationships,
Yes,
and in the
exactly.
connections, and if it's a transaction, great. But a quality
Right.
transaction where you are receiving what you paid for, and everyone else is able to receive that same
Exactly.
item or whatever service equally,
Right.
and to spread love. And I want to just be real specific here on something that I've been disappointed on is I feel that I have freely given, and I'm not bitter, but it's something that I'd like to acknowledge, and have heard, is that I feel I have given thousands of hours of my time and freely, and contributed plenty of funds, and had to get sitters, and my partner has had to take the baby out. There's a lot of work that goes into what I'm doing here, and
Right.
sometimes I feel that the love is not reciprocated. I
Mhm.
promote and I tag, and people don't share. So I've gotten to the point where now I've become anxious to tag people because
That's
I'm
good.
worried that they're not going to share it.
Right.
And I do see somebody tag someone that I feel like is my friend, right? That we have a connection. But when I tag them, they don't share it, but they share the other person. All I mean by that is that we reciprocate, that there's a,
Exactly.
that everything is cyclical and balanced, and I have this fundraiser right now, so that I think I'm gonna do annually, to keep this afloat, because I do pay monthly out of pocket for this show, and I have dreams and ambitions, and
Mhm.
I would like to share it. I explored this with Nopalito yesterday, a couple days ago. Uh, any royalties that come into this show, it's not going to be kept for me.
Right.
I'm not gonna build a tower and sit up top. We're going to perhaps have a pyramid together with
Right.
infinite
On God.
space in all directions, and we can all
Building a
reap the
foundation.
benefits from this.
Right, right. And that's exactly what like we were talking about beforehand too was you do this and you put a platform for anybody, whether whether it's somebody small or somebody, whether it's big and stuff, and there's no need to how would I say fluctuate out anybody for that matter just off of an egotistical sense, but it
Mm-hmm.
sucks to see those individuals who don't share off, even just the equal out energy exchange with
Mm-hmm.
just it's all, it don't even have to be a customer, you could just be reposting or
Yeah.
sharing,
Like,
or
hit the like, hit the
a
like
double
button.
tap, a double tap is says the most,
It
because
does.
that's like, oh, you at least recognize, you see this stuff right there, that's another just even 1 to 10 helps any algorithm in others to build and grow and get more, coming around, not like basically building the community more and deeper, it's in it, everybody's at their own level of spiritual consciousness
Yeah.
and egotistical understanding,
Mm-hmm.
and that's all. It's everybody's, like I said
It's all
again,
love.
it's all love, and it's a marathon, not a race. That's what life is. And so but we all kind of, that's why we show up for each other, and we kind of break each other out of that, like it's okay to shake your homie real quick and be like, hey fool, you okay? Or
Yeah.
like, I see you be doing this, or just checking up, or even for that matter on the likewise other sense, hey man, I haven't seen you for a while, mad love to you, like just reaching out says the
A
most too, because
message. Yeah.
we're all humans at the end of these accounts, and
Mm-hmm.
these accounts help us humans build what we'd like to do in general. It's all a conglomerate of us literally coming together as community. It's kind of like, yeah, that's what social media kind of does. It at least doing it right, instead of just putting out for memes and talking shit. It's actually a community building application too.
Perhaps we can take this moment that you and I are now sharing with the community and it's not, if you recognize this within yourself, you hear this and you're like, "Oh, that's me. I've been doing that. That's okay. Like, I
Yeah,
still love you. Like, that's
for
okay.
real.
But let's like have some intention together. Let's take this moment to be like, "You know what? You guys are right. We can do something more. There's more. There's always more that can be done. And right now, I believe that we're shaping the future of this community, this culture, this movement. And right now, it's growing so rapidly, faster than we could ever imagine,
That's a
infinitely.
fact.
And so, why not get closer?
Mm-hmm.
Why not
Mm-hmm.
show more love? Why not establish ourselves in our places in this community? Find
Facts.
our lane.
And why not show that from a more intimate standpoint,
Yeah.
like being raw, like raw as all hell. There's nothing to lose, because you only gain from sharing that much more. It's that ebb and flow. You give for equal energy exchange back,
Yeah.
in a kind of karma, kind of on similar aspects, but it's just that equal out energy exchange.
And I would encourage people to perhaps confront the fear within yourself, because I struggle with this, of people judging you. And somebody
Mm,
tagged me in something yesterday. Mad Potter said, find your people. Find your people and don't worry about what anybody else thinks. I've been losing followers recently because of various reasons. And I had to get to a point where I'm okay with that. And
yep,
I'm done hiding myself.
for
I'm
real.
I'm done appeasing everybody. I'm
Hmm.
done censoring what my beliefs may be today that could be different tomorrow, because I'm not married to any of them. So if I say something that might be incorrect, tell me. Tell me why
Please
you
check
think
me,
it's
right?
incorrect.
Please,
Yeah,
for
let me
real.
know. But we're not here to cancel each other. We're not here to one up each other. We're
Right
not
down the
we're not
nose.
here to show who's better than who, right?
Hmm. Well, yeah, like right at the core level, I hope that that's what we're all here to do, for real.
Yeah. Thank you
Thank
for
you,
for
man.
exploring that topic with me.
Of course, brother, man. It's been a beautiful experience so far. I love chatting. This is why I go up and set out for pop-ups and stuff, is because
Yeah.
I get to basically see other faces and people are like, oh, what's that plant? And I get to go out into the just jumping into whatever, and they just hear my rant for 15 minutes off of a plant. And like I'm like, I don't even care if you buy it or not. I'm just glad that you learned something.
Yeah. Well, and I see you organizing meetups and going to these Trico meetups, and perhaps there's more that all of us could do. I know I could do more. And, if people have ideas and you want to explore them, I've thought about creating a forum for the show. But whatever anybody's got, like on this particular thing that we just talked about, please share it with us. Let us
Right.
know. And,
For
and
real, for
let,
real.
let's brainstorm, and let's shape the future of this culture, and for our next generation.
Love is supreme. That's a fact.
That's right.
Mhm.
What else do I got here? Conservational practices when it comes to
Hey,
medicine,
hey. All right.
and how we take care of this knowledge.
Mm. That's a beautiful one. All right. So with that, like
Ice cream man.
I love East LA,
Hey,
dude.
I love ice cream man.
You'll get 9 of those by like in a
It's
day,
got a
like
Snoop Dogg
honest.
portrait on it. Or like
Most
a
of the time it's
cholo. A
Nipsey.
cholo.
Yeah, right. It's Nipsey a lot lately over the
Oh,
last couple of
yeah,
years.
yeah.
but uh but yeah, on that conservation sense, man, a big one is I am not I'm proud to work with Altman's plants and stuff too, but there's still big companies and stuff. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like they have like they're known to like the owners go up on what's it called? How would I say? They'll vacation wherever it is in the world, whether it's Hawaii or whether it's Africa, wherever it is. But they hire somebody to take and to go source seed, cuttings, plants, and everything. And I don't know if that's like, I mean, they're a big enough nursery where they could pay for the paperwork to do it, but that's still poaching. I feel like I'm a stormtrooper for the dark side right now. Like,
Mm,
I'm just doing my job, but I'm like not I'm still kind of somewhat part of this thing. Like I'm like, okay, let me maybe like not do that for too long, kind of thing. And
mm,
with that, I feel like these things we got to make sure that community wise that build a big, not even a big, just build a core group of people. Like, shout out Mikey Loves Magic. You're
mm-hmm.
one of my best people to come to be like, hey, is this a poached plant? Or Lophiocarbus, thank you very much, man. Be like, is this a post plan or stuff like that? Like, there's different people, like build those groups of people, whoever it may be, in your friends, and be like, hey, no, let's teach the community and how to buy correctly, sell correctly, and do their due diligence, so we all can make sure that my people and others around the world can still love and appreciate these plants that we appreciate. So we're actually collector like gimme about, because it's so
Mm-hmm.
cool, it's so rare. Like, a lot of us have that collector mindset, and it's a big one where all these South African plants that I see that are sent out to Japan, and all these Mexican plants that are sent out to Thailand and all throughout Southeast Asia and stuff, like that type of thing, we know that it came from something that was poached. And
Mm-hmm.
that was a big thing where it's probably happened already. We can't like talk shit on whatever it happens because we don't even know if the person who owns the plant did it or had anything to do with poaching it in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Stop scrutinizing each other in this and distracting each other.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to this, like, do the due diligence and find the what's happening here. Like, all our Dudleyers are getting taken away from the Malibu Hills and stuff because there's poacher groups from all over wherever they're in the world that are just stealing our succulents and stuff. But yet us love those hikes. There's there locals, natives, and other people. It's part of our lifestyle. It's part of our culture and stuff. It's and to spread that worldwide for everybody. Like, you know, cherry blossoms is a big thing over there for Japanese culture. And imagine if we were stealing their stuff and
Mm-hmm.
cultivating it and making it our own here and stuff. Like, that's like not okay on many different levels.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's kind of like it takes a lot to check our own selves, but also too to step up and check others, because that's what really does the main work in it, you know.
At the end of the day, too, who do these plants really belong to?
They belong to Mama Earth,
Yep.
number one.
Period.
Yeah. Yeah. They don't belong to us. Whatever money and time we bought to exchange for that.
Yep.
There was one rule that an elder told me. The reason why you do work, you just consistently do work, because you only get to keep one out of every 3 plants that you plant. One is for you, one is for Mother Earth, and one is for all the little critters, gusanos, you know, birds, worms, whatever it is. It's for them, you know. So you only realistically get to keep 1/3 of all the work you get to do. So that put it in perspective. I'm like, whoa, okay. That's why we're growing so big and we do so much in the way that we do it, because it's still only 1/3 of ours. Like, it's still 2/3 the universe is. It's not only just us. That's a big one, the big lesson that I've had to come to know on my own self, and I want to share with the community that, like, it's serious when we talk about this stuff, you know.
And it's not an attack either.
No, not at
And
all.
attacking and piling on is not the approach. Social media is not the forum.
Mm-mm.
I think it's on a local level. Even this, I don't consider social media. This is a conversation that's being broadcasted. You know,
Right.
it really what it is me and you having a convo, and other people are sitting
Mm-hmm.
and listening. You know,
And some may resonate, some may not,
right?
but that's all right, you know,
Yeah,
because it's about invigorating that thought. At least the conversation is happening. It's
yeah.
enough people channeling in and tuning into a certain thought.
Mm-hmm.
It'll happen, you know. It'll work out, you know. That I definitely believe
Even
on
just
that. That's,
consciously, yeah,
yeah,
us consciously wanting
exactly.
to make that change and having
Right,
that intention and putting that
right,
energy out into the world, it does make a difference. It
right
does.
on the nose. Exactly. That's a
Vi-
fact right
Vinny,
there.
show me some of your plants. What do you got over there? Did you bring
Oh, we
some?
have, yeah, I got a lot of them right here. Okay. So this is my latest one. It's horrible lighting,
Damn.
but I got one of my banana
Looks
grafts.
good.
Thank you, brother, man. I've been trying not to bevel lately on my grafting lately, because
Uh-huh.
I just like the look of it a lot more instead of it being all like shaved down and stuff.
Uh-huh.
What is this one? It's a Bertha times lumberjack full berry banana.
Mm.
Just juicy guy.
For people that are just getting into tricos, uh a fully variegated plant like that cannot live on a rootstock, right?
No, not at all.
On
Oh
its
yeah,
own roots. Sorry, on its own roots.
yeah, right. It can't live on its own roots. That's why it has to be grafted, and that's the only way it could survive, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
A big one that I have a story with it before I put it away. So the reason if you ever get to see, because this piece is actually, it's available whenever I'm popping up. It's one of the ones that I have to be sharing with the community, anyways. But when I did it, some of it is a little bit, how would I say, discolored. It's not as bright yellow. It's not that fresh growth yellow.
Mm-hmm.
Was because I tried to root it because it had some green on the bottom, but that green, it just had too much yellow. It couldn't photosynthesize, like it couldn't root at all. So I was like, okay, cool, you know. And over the last two months since spring, it's popped up over half of its growth. All that is like new.
Wow.
It's a beautiful thing too. What grafting and
Sure.
and just taking care and propagating these plants. It's such an awesome thing.
Without being wasteful.
Right, for real.
Every
Another one of my,
part of the plant, I think, is equally as important.
yeah, like to me, especially too, when buying stuff, unless you want a tip cut, get a mid cut, because then when it pups out, you get two pups. So you get technically two tips from a mid. You know, like little things like that is not known by others inside the community and stuff. And
it doesn't look, it's not as visually appealing.
Right.
But I want that. I
Right.
want that and exactly that. You know?
Exactly. So it's like, you want instant gratification, the tip, or do you want to grow out multiple tips, you know, kind of thing. And
sustainability or momentary.
Right. And I learned, especially early on, I just bought tips. But now that I'm like being offered mids, I'm like, okay, cool. A $25 to $100 sometimes fluctuates even more than that for just a mid to a tip price. Ooh, I'm gonna take a mid any day, because I still get to invest into it and I still have tips later. Like, exactly.
And
sustainability.
you get the different characteristics on each pup that comes out of it too.
Right. They're not always the same.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Beautiful. What else do you have over there?
One of my favies, one of my Lophophora Williams like Caspitosa. This one I got from a local grower, actually, from seed. Actually, it was a shoot. I don't know how old this one is. Now, let me see if I can get a better. Oh, way better look here. Way better look here. So this one I believe is about 10 years old or such. I am not too sure, and it was from seed. This one is one of my favies out of all of my collection.
See, so let's just say that it's in the 7 to 10 year range. Let's take a moment to acknowledge. I mean, these plants, they grow so slow.
Right. That's a fist. It's still so small at 10 years old, 10, 15 years old, dude.
And you want to go pull one? You want to go pull a mature one out, or
right?
You want to
that's
go...
150, 300-year-old plant sometimes, dude. It's a trip. Such a trip. Yeah. One I wanted to share too is that's my rooted one. But I grew from seed a couple years back, and I had grafted some up. And this bad boy right here was a single little head onto this rootstock about 2-3 years ago. And so now this is basically only a 4 or 5-year-old plant, probably. And I've taken off so many little grafts or so many heads off of this thing, and it's still pumping like multiple guys out. It's such a cool thing, because when you start grafting, you get beauty in the main stem plant, because you're obviously growing that out. But then you could take off the other guys, the other offshoots, and you could still propagate those on and on and on again. It's like you're technically, this plant is growing 10, 15 times faster than it would be on its own roots.
Right.
That to me is some of the most trippiest stuff that I'm like, whoa, okay, plant flesh, I can maybe manipulate a little bit, and then I can make it look beautiful, especially within the cultivation practices that we could learn through others. And it's so fun, dude. This is some of the funnest things, especially over time, like 6 months from now or a year from now. I can't wait to see what this does, like that type of stuff.
Yeah, no, it's incredible to watch, for sure.
Some of my favorites.
I think I saw that at your house like a year ago, and it looks like it's grown quite a bit.
That's one of my that's one of the mothers that I kept. I gave a couple mothers out to some friends and family of the community, but that was one of the mothers that I did keep.
Beautiful.
Yeah, last one that I have, because most of my guys are super tall, and the connection outside is not as good, so I can't really show detail on those guys. But majority of my collection would probably be Tricos. That's my biggest love so far, is especially the more cultivar versions of it. Like I have this one called Argentinensis, where it's pure. Hey, you got a piece of it? Yeah, Argentine, pure highlighter blue. That one's amazing. I love that. And if you put it in shade, it still gets pure highlighter blue. It's absolutely astounding plant. I love that one. That is one of my favorite guys in my collection, for sure.
I'm in agreement with you on that one. It's a special one. Thank you for gifting me the mid cut.
Of course,
such a beautiful pup. The camera doesn't do it justice.
It doesn't, right? The blue highlighterness is like, it's literally a blue highlighter if you remember what that looks like in middle school and stuff, you know. Yeah, man.
You had one more, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I do have one more. What's it called? Which one? I have two more, actually. Okay. Technically.
Yeah.
So this one right here is a one that I was received as a gift from a Netherlands grower out there in
Beautiful.
Denmark. He actually went out and sourced the seed for himself. Oh, I don't know if you could really read that, but it's a free seed ID 244. And basically, this seed was sourced from out there, and it was ethically grown out in Netherlands over the last 8 years, probably. And it
Beautiful.
was gifted to me just probably about a year or two ago.
Look
And
at the
this is one of my
color on
favorite
it.
plants, right? It's
It's
a
vibrant.
freesia. It's like a super white,
Super white,
and
yeah.
the tufts are like the smallest in the world. Like I can't tell for the life of me, except for that middle tuft, you know?
Yeah.
Awesome. And then one of the last ones that I have is, you see this guy? This is a Luffophora as well. This dude has gone through the ringer, man. The
Resilience.
absolute ringer. So these plants are so resilient. This got stretched out inside of a box for too long. And so I was like, oh, shoot, maybe let me just throw it in some soil and let me, root it up and do its thing. And it stopped stunning its growth for about a year. And all that right there, it just kept on going up the apex and just continued growing on. And you see how like it went from thick daddy to thin daddy.
That thing's fantastic. I love it. I love
This like
that. It
the
almost
I
looks like a TBM.
it,
You
it does. It
right?
does look like a
It's like
TBM, but
starting
this
to
is a
mimic a
straight
TBM.
lofo. It's a trip, dude. These plants, they're absolutely amazing,
They're
especially like
fighters. They're
they're
fighters. That's what I love
such
about them.
fighters.
That's how I relate to them. You know what I mean? I relate
Yeah.
to that fighting through neglect.
I know, right? Like most of them, people look at me funny. I'm like, they're like, how do I take care of this? And I'm like, okay, well, luckily I'm giving you a fully rooted plant, so you really don't have to worry about doing the rooting process and the acclimation and all that other shit. So just throw it in a shaded part for a little while when you're growing session. Move it slowly every 2 weeks into the sun, and completely forget about it for a month or two, and you'll see that thing blossoming. And they give me like the forget about it, like what? And I'm
Right.
like, yeah, forget about it. Like, don't water it for a
Don't
month and
worry.
it'll do good.
Less is
And they're like,
more.
oh,
I
cool.
love that.
It's so funny, dude. I like, and it's amazing because you get to like people from the youngest kids at like 2-3 years old are coming and touching the plants, and you know that they are interested because that's what they're touching, something they're interested in. But then there's others that are like, I've had this old senora. I pop up once a month at Molinelli Superfoods, in on Whittier Boulevard in East LA, and that's my main source of you'll find me there popping up with plants. But anyways, there's a lady that always comes through, a local senora, like 80 years old, and she loves the plants, and I'm one of the only plant vendors at that spot. So she's like, okay, mijo, like in Spanish, what plants do you have today? And I'm like, oh, check out this one, abuela, and she's like, oh, how much is that? And she's like, and I'm like, oh, it's $60, but for you, 40. Anything that you got, pretty much, go ahead and take it. And she's like, oh, mijo, I don't have that, but I wish you get 80 for it. Like, she is so nice. So I
Yeah,
always
that's
just
so
give
sweet.
give her little plants and stuff. And hopefully soon enough, when I get to go to be at her house one day, and she'll invite me for lunch, she'll be like, look, mijo, look at all my little plants you gifted me and stuff. And it's like those types of relationships that how I wouldn't have ever probably gotten that if I wouldn't have been doing my plants things, just following my heart. Like,
Mm-hmm.
those are indescribably so rich to the heart, so valuable.
If there's something that I would love people to leave with, is exactly what you just said. Is to follow your heart,
Mm-hmm.
to listen to your gut,
Mm-hmm.
and if it's calling you in the direction of cacti, listen.
Yes.
And then when if the plants are coming and becoming abundant, then start trying to tune in with them, and
Very
and
much
and
so.
listen to them. They will
Yeah.
give you the wisdom that you're looking for, and they will heal you, and they'll pull you out of a dark place, and keep you on the right path. I believe that
Agreed.
wholeheartedly. This one here is
Agreed.
very special to me because you introduced me to this piece, and it was probably about 9 inches when I took it. And I'm a Long Beach native too, born in Long Beach Memorial, so a Peruvianist that came from Long Beach. And the funny thing is, it's on a street that I've driven down for many years, and then I
Right?
had no idea that Mamacita was sitting right there, and
Love it.
she's gorgeous. So thank you. And
Of course.
lastly, the last time I saw you, you sent me with this. So I just brought some plants that remind me of you.
Orale.
Now,
That's the Dawson's one. That one's
mm-hmm.
beautiful. Hey, it's up for a repot soon,
Look
huh?
at the. Oh yeah, no, I haven't even started repotting Tricos yet. I'm going to. I've been working on other plants, but this all
Nice.
those long spines weren't there when you gave it to me. These are all new spines. Like
Shoot.
that guy here. I wish I could get it to focus.
Wow.
Lots of new.
Absolutely
Definitely new spines.
insane.
Beautiful.
Wow. Those are funky. Those are super cool.
Super
Like
long
I love
spines.
right for such a small piece. Like
Yeah,
those are like 4 inches. They're as long as my index finger, man.
yeah. Beautiful plants, man. Beautiful plants.
On God. On God.
It,
I have one last one sitting in front of
please.
me. This little guy. I got a little baby offshoot. And this one I popped a seed of probably about a year ago. And I just repotted it probably recently within the last like maybe couple months, and it's finally rooted. I just saw it in the edge of the tray.
Cool.
But this is a seed from a year ago, dude. So 1 year to 10 years, that's such a trip. 1 years to
Right.
10 years.
Right.
Like what? Craziness, man.
Patience.
Patience, right? Patience, Nino. Patience, Nino.
Something I'm still trying to get a hold of. So before we wrap up, I have two things. I wanted to touch on ancestors and
Mhm.
what they mean to you, and the dinners that you host from time to time.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. So the ancestors, what the ancestors mean to me. Hmm. Well, they mean the most, to be honest.
Mm.
In another deep moment, I I went in my last solo session for myself that I guided myself through. I was my lady, my mom, and those are the people that do medicine with me the most is my mom and my partner. And both of them went on a women's trip to Joshua Tree to go work with another fellow Reiki practitioner to go do their development and their work. And I was alone and I was feeling kind of dense at the moment. And I sat in, and usually in my medicine sessions when I'm with others, I can't really tune into to my when I close my eyes, my circle of my
Mm-hmm.
ancestors, because I'm kind of distracted, but I was no distractions this time. It was just me and the ancestors. And so when I close my eyes and I go in, every one of my ancestors are sitting around in a circle with me. Like when you sit in a circle with your ancestors, you know what I mean is sitting in a circle with crisscross. You guys are sitting around the fire. You guys are just giving it up to the fire. My birth mom and my birth grandpa. So yeah, birth grandma and birth grandpa are sitting all the way to my right. My adopted grandpa and grandma are always sitting in front of me. My other grandpa who's passed on, luckily I still have my grandma from one of my mother's side. He's sitting there, and I always have two spots here open for my father's side, my father's father and my father's mother.
Mm-hmm.
But those people never show up. There's always empty spots. That time when I went in, one spot was filled, and it was a male
Mm.
with the Santa Claus beard, white male Santa Claus beard, and he was a masculine. He was from my father's side. And recently, within finding who my father is, I also found out that he had passed in 2007.
Mm.
So in that roller coaster of stuff, it kind of pinpointed to me that he's also now my ancestor, and he was the one who came through because he's white, he's French and German, he has the beard and the hair like I did or like I do now, and
Mm-hmm.
he showed up, and I had no idea who it was. I thought it was my grandpa from his side, but it was my father, and that right there was like, okay, I'm gonna just listen. I'm gonna listen to what you gotta say, and if I know I'm messing up, you guys, you like I know it. Okay, I'll listen, guys. Like kind of like I'll get scolded. I understand, kind of thing, and
Mm.
that's what the ancestors mean to me. They mean as my check back here into what the mission, what the purpose of myself being here in this earth is to be, is to remember to stay centered, to stay forward on your path and stuff, even though sometimes it goes up and down and backwards and forwards, and it's not just linear. It's like that.
Hmm.
It's so that's what mainly ancestors mean to me. And I kind of missed up on you were talking about the dinners right
Yeah,
afterwards.
I'd love to touch on it though. I love everything you just said, and
Mhm.
I encourage anyone that, because perhaps you don't have an idea of a higher power or a God, and you're searching for meaning. That's a great place to start. I think it
Yeah,
is to look back into your history, to
yeah.
learn your roots, and there are a lot of practices out there that can help you be in touch with your spiritual, what I believe to be your spiritual team, and the
Mm-hmm.
ancestors are part of that for sure, right? And
Yes, very much
they're
so.
always watching, they're always with you. If you've lost somebody you've
Yep.
loved, they're always there.
Yep.
You can tap into that, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just beautiful. I highly encourage, especially if you're lacking spirituality, and you can't, you struggle with the concept of God.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps you want to worship something. Look
Worship your ancestors for
look
real.
back into the family. Yeah.
One on that end, and before we touch on the dinners, it's something that I love to tie in because we've all probably watched Black Panther at this point.
Yeah, sure.
You know when the point when King T'Chaka goes in and does the drink and is buried and goes to meet his ancestors. That's what it's like. You're sitting with them. They're here with you. Though you're still understanding this, you're still you're with them though, and being
Hmm.
able to take in their guidance to bring it back to when you come back to here in this physical, this touch, this part of our experience of humanism, you know. And that was one little detail I wanted to
Thank you.
add.
So these dinners, you guys host these dinners from time to time, right?
Yeah.
Vegan
So
vegan
my
meals, right?
beautiful partner, yeah, my beautiful partner and I, her name is Jennifer. We've been together for about 5 years now, and we both come from food in our backgrounds. And her
Mm.
family, like her father is like a 22 or 30 some year veteran of a one of the lonchera trucks that hits all the LA factories and stuff, making
Mm-hmm.
sure all of our people are fed throughout to keep our city running and stuff. And so that's her side. And where I come from, my abuelas and stuff, we all come from that, where we're gonna make tortillas, we're gonna cook. And I was always in the kitchen, so that's why I got that down into my blood and stuff. So now we came together, and we call it Pachamama's table, where we're just trying to decolonize the stomach through teaching how we can basically make good plant-based food without lacking flavors, without lacking essence, without lacking feeling or culture. Because without, sometimes the plant, sorry, sometimes the animal flavor is part of that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't always have to be part of it, because there's other aspects now that we could take in through mushrooms and many other different roots and stuff that we can basically create the flavor
And texture.
of that and that texture
Yeah.
exactly now, where it's like now you see plant-based meats and stuff on in the markets and stuff. But imagine making a plant-based meat out of lentils, walnuts, chickpeas together, and then you put the chorizo, spices and stuff. It's actually the chorizo texture. It gets crunchy like the chorizo does when you cook it really well. Like it's still playable like the meat does. It still has the fat, like all that type of stuff. We love to tap into what the details and how to spread our love to the others, because our closest love is to our stomachs. And that's what we just got to try to share that family vibe, and that's what Pachamama's tables is our outlet for creative, and to also to decolonize our stomachs through that way.
I love you so much.
I
You
love you too, Garrett. Love you lots, man.
so genuine, so real. Like there's no mask. There's
Not
no
at all,
mask
dog.
there. Thank you.
Of course,
Thank you for
brother.
coming on here, and thank you for doing this. This will be the first of many to come.
Mad love, agreed. So,
Let's plan some stuff.
of course, brother. I
We're
would love to do one of the when it's ready and when it's time, the in persons again too.
Oh no, we will for sure. It's gonna be soon. Where can everyone find you?
Okay, so everybody can find me on Instagram at strongwinds_array, and that's my main contact. Send me a DM through there, and I love to build connections, and over time I would love to possibly get your guys' actual numbers, and do some work together, or whether you want to come in and be guided and being shepherded through whatever your time is now, whether you're trying to develop more of, or tap into your gifts, or whether you're just trying to taste some of our delicious food, or whether you're just trying to grab a plant, like I'm your man. I appreciate every one of y'all for giving me your time and your ear. Essentially, especially if you've listened this far, mad love to every one of y'all in the community, especially you too, Garrett, man. Thank you.
Thank you. And if you're a friend of mine and hesitant to approach Vincent, feel free to use me as a proxy. I'll introduce you happily. We're not too far from each other either. So
Gladly, gladly.
all right. Strong winds array, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Fantastic job, man. Thank you.
Much love, much love.
If everyone could please like, review, and subscribe to the podcast and hit that share button, we would both appreciate that greatly. All right. Bye.